Alabama football has kicked off spring practice today. Well, there's a bunch of question marks and people looking at different things. What I'm looking at and what I'm looking for is looking at Jalen Milroe and DeBoer's offense, looking at the steps that Jalen Milroe can potentially take in DeBoer's offense. And going into the 2024 season, I think there's not like a solidified like number one quarterback entering 2024, right? Like last year we had Drake May and Caleb Williams, and we had another tier of Bo Nix and Michael Penix, right? This year it's really all up in the air right now. A lot of people, when you ask who's the best quarterback, heading into 2024, you hear Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, maybe Cam Ward, maybe Shedeur Sanders. You don't hear a bunch of Jalen Milroe talk, right? And I think there's definitely a pathway there, right? So can Jalen Milroe be the best quarterback in 2024? Well, yes, if improvements are made, right? I think he had a really good year last year, and I think improvements can definitely be made. So that's why I'm looking forward to watching how he does in spring practice and spring ball, and seeing how he meshes with DeBoer's offense, right? Now I understand there were some limitations on his game last year, but it was his first year starting. So like why can't he make a jump? Why can't he make an improvement? So we're going to talk about the pathway for Milroe to be the best quarterback in 2024 and what that pathway looks like. If this is your first time tuning in the channel, thanks for tuning in. We're just a big quarterback hub. We talk all things quarterback, specifically the college quarterback position. So if that's kind of your niche, if you're kind of a college football junkie or a quarterback junkie, please consider following us along, right? So Jalen Milroe, best quarterback in 2024. I'm not saying he's going to be. I'm not saying he's not, but there's definitely a pathway there. I definitely think you have to allow for improvements to be made. We saw what DeBoer did with Penix. We saw how guys like Jackson Dart, his second year starting, we saw how much better he was in year 2 than year 1. And I think Jalen Milroe's first year starting was way better than Dart's first year starting. It was way better than what Penix has done prior to Kalen DeBoer, right? So I think I don't think why can't Milroe take that next step? I think it's definitely a pathway there, right? So what's the pathway? What does he need to improve? Well, we've talked about before in this channel of Jalen Milroe and all the big flashy plays he does well. Everyone knows his deep ball game. Everyone knows he's a freaky athlete. We get that, right? So what's the pathway to fill in the other parts that maybe are missing? And I think DeBoer could be the perfect fit. I think DeBoer could be the combination of DeBoer and Milroe could be the perfect combination for Milroe to fully kind of reach his potential. But it has to happen, this year, obviously, to be the best quarterback in 2024. And you have to develop in the areas that you were lacking in last year. What were those areas? Was the underneath throws, the easy throws, the gimme throws. It was the consistency factor. You have to be more consistent on those underneath type throws. DeBoer's offense, he asked the quarterbacks to push the ball downfield. He asked the receivers to make big plays. We know this. We saw it with Penix. But he also emphasizes the underneath passing game as well, right? Like, he may not be throwing the ball behind line of scrimmage a bunch, but he's definitely emphasizing the underneath passing game. So I think that in itself can help Milroe develop. If he can develop that underneath passing game, that's going to make his deep balls even that much more of a threat. If he can develop that underneath passing game, then that's going to have the defense have to be aware for something else. Now, to do that, he's going to have to be a lot more consistent, right? But I think the fact that he's had 1 year starting, every starting quarterback has stuff to improve on, right? So it does come back, though, to that consistency factor and hitting on those underneath throws to keep drives alive, to not have to rely on the deep ball nearly as much. Do you have the same guys to throw to that you had last year? I don't know, right? Like you have different receivers. You had guys transfer out. All right, so Jalen Milroe last year, yards per attempt per 10, right? We know he pushed the ball downfield. He only had 6 picks. He took really good care of the football. So I think he's going to have to continue to take care of the football. He's going to have to continue to push the ball downfield, of course, to be successful. And then he's going to have to add this new element of being more consistent and hitting his underneath throws. But I think he's got a lot of traits that DeBoer likes. I think he's going to, I think it could be a refined system of DeBoer. I think DeBoer could come in and kind of use some creativity that Milroe has, right? Use his athletic ability to add some creativity to the offense that maybe they didn't use last year. And maybe that can help with the consistency factor for Milroe. So for him to be the best quarterback in 2024, he's going to have to show up in the big games, the primetime games. And Alabama's got a bunch of them, right? I think their win total was at 9.5. Is that what I remember correctly? But Milroe's going to have to show up in the primetime games, right? So we talked about he's going to have to continue to hit in the deep balls and do all the flashy stuff. Now he's going to have to be more consistent and develop the underneath type stuff and keep getting better at the smaller stuff. And this is all gonna have to show up in the big games. It's not gonna matter with the lower tier games. It's gonna have to show up in the big games. None being bigger than Georgia at home. When Georgia comes to home, you're going to have to show up in that game. Then you have to go to LSU. You have to go to Tennessee. Not in that order, but you have games at Tennessee, at LSU, at OU. Mizzou at home is a big game. Then Auburn's always a big game, right? So you have like 5, 6 like really big primetime games that Miller's going to have to show up for. I think he's going to play really well in every single game. When you go against Georgia, Carson Beck may be the best quarterback in not just the SEC, but all of college football. So if you can outperform Carson Beck, that's a check. Then you go to Tennessee. It's going to be a road test, right? You got their young quarterback Nico. You outperform him, another check. You go to LSU. Now that defense is shaky, but it's still a primetime game. So hopefully you take advantage of maybe a shaky defense again for LSU. That's a check right there. Mizzou at home, I like Brady Cook, and then you got at OU at the end of the season or towards the end of the season. Then of course the Auburn game, the rivalry game, right? So I think the pathway for Miller to be the best quarterback in 2024 is improvement has to be made first and foremost, right? So you make that improvement. You be more consistent. You get better at the underneath throws, the easier throws, right? And you do that without losing your ability to push the ball downfield. You do that without losing your creativity ability. You do that without losing your ability as a runner, right? So you want to keep what you did well last year, the big plays, but you also want to add in the smaller plays that keep drives alive, that keeps the offense on the field, that gives the defense a break. And you want to do that with all these big primetime games. You can have a ton of opportunity, right? So is Miller going to be the best quarterback in 2024? No idea, right? But spring practice starting today, I'm excited to see how he fits in DeBoer's offense. I'm excited to see how DeBoer kind of meshes and creates the offense around Milroe. And then excited to see, we're still months away from the season, but then excited to see if he can take those next steps, especially in these big primetime games. I think that's the pathway for Milroe to be the best quarterback in college football, right? Of course, it would help if all these other guys don't perform all that great. But Alabama fans or just college football fans in general, I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think, Milroe can be the best quarterback next year? Right? I know he's not really being talked about it right now, but I think there's definitely a pathway. So let me know if you think, 1, he can, and then 2, what's that pathway? What does he have to do to be considered the best, or at least one of the best in 2024? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And again, if you like this type of video, please like, share, subscribe. Really does help the channel grow if you like this quarterback niche content. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.